Hello candidates and welcome back to the lesson. The subject is taxation and the topic is value added tax. Today we are going to discuss the changes that must be notified to the Commission in regard to VAT. Changes that must be notified to the Commission. And therefore candidates, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to outline the changes that must be notified to the Commissioner in relation to value added tax. And here in Kenya, the Tax Procedures Act of 2015 is the primary legislation that governs the administration of taxes, including value added tax. And it outlines the taxpayers' obligations to notify the Commissioner of Kenya Revenue Authority of certain changes. And these notifications are crucial for maintaining an accurate taxpayer register and also ensuring effective tax administration. And it's important to indicate that failure to notify the Commissioner of KRA of these changes within the stipulated timeframes can lead to penalties. Failure to do what? Failure to notify the Commissioner of Kenya Revenue Authority of changes in regard to value added tax. So the question now is, what are these changes that must be notified to the Commissioner in relation to value added tax? The first change is in relation to the PIN. Changes in PIN, changes in personal identification number details. Changes in personal identification number details. These are changes related to the initial registration. So changes in personal identification number details covers a broad range of changes related to the initial registration details. And this may include change of names. One, change of name, the name of the taxpayer. Change of name. Change of name. When a taxpayer or registered VAT person changes a name, then that has to be notified to the Commissioner of KRA. For individuals, this would be a legal name change, and for companies, it would be a change in the registered company name. Changes in registered company name. Another example is in relation to the PIN details is change in address. Change of address. Change of address. For the change of address candidates includes physical address, it includes postal address, it may include email address, it may also include phone number. So the KRA uses this official communication candidates, the phone number, the email, the physical address. KRA uses all these details to communicate to the taxpayer. So if there's any change in the address, then it's important that the taxpayer notifies the Commission. Then the next change in relation to the PIN details is change in business location. Change in business location. Change in business location. Change in business location. If a business moves its premises, then that change has to be communicated to the Commission. Number 3 or 4 is change in residency status. Change in residency status. Change in residency status. Change in residency status. For individuals, if their tax residence changes, then that has to be notified to the Commissioner. 5, change in directorship or partnership. Change in directorship or partnerships. For companies or partners, changes in the individual holdings key positions should also be notified to the Commission. If there are any changes in the individuals holding key positions, if individuals, directors are holding key positions, then such changes have to be communicated to the Commissioner of KRA. Then, of course, we need to mention something in relation to these PIN details, the timelines. What are the timelines? Now, generally, these changes should be updated on the iTax system within 21 days of the change occurring, and KRA often conducts data cleanup exercises and urges taxpayers to proactively update their details. So these are changes in relation to the initial PIN details. If there are changes to the PIN initial PIN details, then such changes have to be notified to the Commissioner within a period of 21 days after the change has occurred. Then number 2 is cessation of business or trade. Cessation of business or trade. Cessation of business or trade. If a business ceases its operations or sells its business or goes into liquidation, that has to be notified to the Commissioner. That is the change of business or trade. The change of business or trade. And with that change, candidates, there is also implications for VAT. If a VAT registered person ceases to make taxable supplies or their taxable turnover falls below the prescribed threshold of 5 million for continuous period, then they are obligated to apply for deregistration from VAT. They are required to apply for deregistration from VAT. You understand? And what are the timelines? Here, the application for deregistration should be made promptly upon cessation or qualifying for deregistration, and certainly before winding up operations. So those are the timelines. The application for deregistration should be made promptly. So cessation of business has to be communicated to the Commissioner. That is the second type of change. 3, death of taxpayer. Death of a taxpayer. Death of a taxpayer, that is for individuals. Now, the death of an individual taxpayer necessitates notifying the Commissioner of KRA. If the taxpayer pays, then that has to be communicated to the Commissioner, the death of a taxpayer. And the legal representative or executor or administrator of the deceased estate is responsible for notifying KRA and settling any outstanding tax obligations. So when one dies, there is that administrator or the caretaker who is required to notify the KRA of the death of the taxpayer in regard to VAT. Death of a taxpayer has to be notified to the Commissioner of KRA. 4, appointment or change of a tax representative. Appointment or change of a tax representative should also be notified with the Commissioner. If a taxpayer appoints a tax representative, e.g. a tax agent, or changes the existing representative, then the taxpayer has to inform the Commissioner. Appointment or change of a tax representative, that is the 4th change. Then number 4 is change in payment details. Change in payment details, and these are details in tax. Change in payment details for withholding tax agents. Change in payment details, that is if applicable. And while not a direct change to PIN details, withholding tax agents, including withholding VAT agents, are responsible for correctly remitting withheld taxes, and any changes that impact the ability to do so or require cancellation of withholding certificates, then they have to notify the KRA. They may require to notify KRA. So these are These are 5 major changes that the Commissioner of KRA has to be notified in relation to value added tax. Value added tax. And candidates, these changes are to be made, or the notification is done mostly through the KRA iTax online portal. For PIN detail, taxpayers can no longer can just log into the iTax account, navigate to the registration menu, and select amend PIN details. As for the registration from VAT, there is a specific application process on the same iTax system. So these are the changes, candidates, that must be notified to the Commissioner of KRA. One, we've said changes in PIN details. Changes in PIN details. These are the initial registration details. If there are any changes later on, for example, change of name, change of address, change in business location, residency status, change in directorships or partnerships, then that has to be notified to the Commissioner of KRA. The second category is cessation of business or trade. Number 4 is the death of a taxpayer. Then there is appointment or changes of tax representatives. Then lastly, change in payment details for withholding agents. And candidates, failure to notify the Commission of changes in particulars within the stipulated time frame can lead to administrative penalties as per the Tax Procedures Act of 2015. If the notification is also not done, the KRA records may become inaccurate, leading to misdirected communication, leading to incorrect assessments, or even issues with tax compliance certificates. And being out of compliance with basic registration details can flag a taxpayer for further scrutiny by Kenya Revenue Authority. Again, another consequence of non-notification is difficulty in tax administration. It can hinder a taxpayer's ability to access services on iTax or to receive important tax-related communications. So that's all for today's lesson, where we have highlighted the changes that must be notified to the Kenya Revenue Authority in relation to the VAT, Value Added Tax. Bye-bye.